I'm on. Thank you, gentlemen. I am on, and welcome to the Topics of the Town News, February 13th, 2025. This is February already. Time flies when you're having fun. Welcome to our report with Mark Zuberek as your host. I want to thank DCAT for supporting this show because that's been a labor of love. I think they love me. I don't know why, but they do. And don't shake your head. We have an audience here today, so I don't want to be, booed or anything. The agenda and opinions are solely by the Topics of the Town host, our guests, contributors, and commentators. First and foremost, I would like to just dedicate this show to Mrs. Daly, Mike and Andrea Daly, and I understand that Andrea is ailing a little bit again, so I hope you get well very, very soon. And welcome to the show. I know that you watch it and you give me a call back every time, and I appreciate it. Today's quote or special saying is, there we go, there's that one, but in introduction to it, angry people are not always wise. And then it's followed by style is knowing who you are, what you want to say, and not giving a damn. Because people will quote you and requote you and twist your words in any way they want, but you are responsible for what you're saying, whether it's on television, whether it's at public meetings, or personal communications. This quote came out of a area of when Gore Vidal did this quote back in 2012. I just need to get this across because this is very important to me. The New York Times described the National Book Award winning writer as both a famous feuder and someone who loved conspiracy theories. I've been accused of conspiracy theories forever, and I think I know how Gore felt when he did this, especially the ones he imagined himself at the center of. And 2 times congressional candidate Vidal was never ran out of opinions, filling 2,000 essays, 25 novels, and 2 memoirs where he wasn't fine-tuning scripts or trading quips with Johnny Carson. To Vidal, style entailed all the ways people project themselves onto the world, imbuing them with confidence. So let's just go over this quote again. Angry people are not always wise. That was my introduction. Style is knowing who you are, what you want to say, and not giving a damn, because those are your words and your thoughts and your opinion, and that's where we stand, and I stick to it all the way. Thank you for listening to my little quote, but I've used this before, and it's so appropriate. I have a special segment here on host comments because I'm here alone, And I would like to say this to my audience because I am resolute in presenting the truth regarding the matters in Danvers. Some of the stories I gathered by communicating with our residents. Some stories are buried on purpose to hide the truth. Investigations are not pursued because the truth is embarrassing to our leaders. So let's explore some of these news stories that would never appear in public. These stories are intentionally swept under the rug, as is the custom in Danvers. Sweep it under the rug, and everybody will forget about it. There is a pushback all the time. There is censorship and obstruction to the truth. So let's clear the air. I am going to go through a local, national, and state news items that I felt were important to us. And some of them are repeat performers, but they deserve another view. Danvers continues to struggle with the national results of our elections in November. And you can see that in everyday news that's happening in our national government and in our state government, who are running for cover all over the place. And hopefully, sooner or later, the truth will be on the table. As you know, there's a saying, elections have consequences. And we have national election consequences coming our way. And we need to explore every opportunity to dig into the details because they have been buried for years. And all of our elected officials in Washington, that means Republicans and Democrats, are guilty of spending our dollars for purposes that we as residents do not approve of. They have their favorite sons and daughters that they devote our tax money to, and it's not just national, it's international as well. Transition to national and state government. When our government in Washington finally decides on what they want to do when they grow up, we are going to feel the pain because our own state government is guilty of spending our tax dollars for purposes that we don't even know about. And one of the things that I want to bring up, and I have an email from our representative, Sally Kearns. Sally was very gracious in replying to my plea that I made when the discussion was taking place on the $425 million shelter bailout that the governor proposed. There's another one that's spending our money without regards to the taxpayers. I wrote to Sally, I urge you to vote no on the $425 million shelter bailout. Massachusetts taxpayers should not be forced to cover the cost of broken system driven by sanctuary policies and unlimited public benefits. Our emergency shelter system is costing over $1 billion a year currently, and this bill does nothing to fix it, just another blank check with no accountability. Instead of more spending, we need real reform to control costs and prioritize Massachusetts residents. Please stand with the taxpayers and reject this reckless spending bill. Well, Sally replied, After the vote was taken, and I checked on who voted and who voted yes and who voted no. For one time that I respect Sally's vote, this time she voted no on automatic $425 million injection of funds for the illegal immigrants that we are housing in this state. However, she sent me a very long explanation of why the $425 million expense was actually spent by a vote of, but we don't have unlimited funds, and without changes, the system will collapse and even more people will be on the street. Sally, with a caring deliberation of what that money was going for, explained to me that reducing requiring applicants to prove Massachusetts residency and providing shelter only to Mass residents, reducing the maximum length of time in the EA shelter from 9 to 6 consecutive months, and removing 90-day extensions to certain situations, requiring that each adult applicant or beneficiary in the EA program disclose all prior criminal convictions in Massachusetts and any other jurisdiction, conducting background and CORI checks prior to entry as opposed to allowing entry to shelter and then pursuing to CORI. These changes went hand in hand with the necessary funding to keep the program going at all. So Sally did the right thing after I believe there were several other people that sent in similar requests. Danvers and Peabody schools have received more than $350,000 over the past year and a half through this program for language and other support to bring along new students while ensuring the very students remain on pace. The one thing that Sally does not, or recognize, not recognize, maybe she does, but I have experienced that our school systems is not a Danvers school system. It's a state school system. The curriculum is dictated by DESE, and the funding for all of these students is partial real estate taxes from the town of Danvers, because they have their handout every year, but the school system is directed and directly responsive to the state Department of Education. Now, you've heard in the past few months that the Department of Education in the federal government is going to be, or should be, wiped out, and maybe that will happen, but it should really go down to the state as well. I have received a copy of all the curriculum directives that they have issued from DESE, and it's a pile of paper this high. The thing is that nobody really reads it. And the thing is that we leave the good students behind because we concentrate on everybody else, and we want to make everybody else average. We need to change that. So that is a Sally Kearns reply, and I appreciate it because at least she came back and told me what her thoughts were, and I appreciate that. Current actions and reactions. Our governor is spending another $425 million on illegal immigration. The one legislator, Sally Kearns, voted no on this request. The measure passed, and the state will spend our tax dollars on illegal immigrants. I was very proud of our representative for once standing up for the taxpayers. Thank you, Sally. National federal DEI roles eliminated by the president. Town, state should or must eliminate DEI from our organizations. Why did it ever start in Danvers? Look at the past events that drove our management team to relent to public pressure. This all began with a thin blue line flag dilemma that the town manager, the woke town manager, dictated to the rest of the residents in the town. My opinion, and I stick to it. Local town news. Excuse me. Danvers town manager search continues with limited results, currently lacking direction of what this town manager should be responsible for when appointed. First selection committee meeting held last week on Wednesday, and I understand that the committee was provided with direction of where the consultant is going and how these resumes or applications are being reviewed. And I understand that the meeting was held in the conference room of the town manager, but the deliberation in regard to elimination of resumes was conducted in secret session. And I call it secret. You want to call it whatever you want, but the public was not aware of who applied and who was eliminated at that time. And that's where it should be done. I have a reply to the Board of Selectmen. Mr. Ribicki gave a very objective analysis of the qualification requirements at a month ago at their meeting, and we have no idea whether any of his comments were ever incorporated into the application. Thank you, Coley, for doing your particular effort that you have gone through, but now we need implementation, and I hope we get to some of these issues when the time comes when the Board of Selectmen will interview the individuals in a public session. So, special town meeting, uneventful on February 3rd. Zoning meeting took 30 minutes. That's all it took for 10 warrant articles. There was no discussion. I believe that people, I left at warrant article number 9 because there was no sense of hanging around because it was going to be a rush out the door. Nobody wants to discuss the warrant articles at town meeting. Where are our elected representatives? These are the people that should be deliberating what changes we're having in our town. There is an effort in the community to arrest the massive zoning, the multifamily zoning that has been incorporated into our zoning rules. Massive zoning, multifamily units already encroach on the town character. State laws are being imposed to circumvent our local zoning rules. State has superseded our town culture and quality of life. Zoning was not discussed at town meeting at all, but that was supposed to be for the zoning issues and why. However, last night on Wednesday of this week, I viewed a presentation that was made to the town. Well, it was done by Aaron Henry from the planning department, and it was a discussion regarding the multi-unit housing. What the state law has provided or has imposed on us, because last night the direction was you will follow this, that every unit of housing in the town of Danvers can become, by right, a two-family house because we have too much land on our properties. So we need to really cut back on some of this legal hassle that we are getting into with our legislators. Our legislators should come before us and explain why this is happening. And the only reason I can see is that Boston has run out of space and they want to spread out the multifamily housing to other communities. And we already encountered MBTA zoning, which increased the density and reduced the amount of parking required for each unit by 30 or 40%. So we need to address this, and we need to arrest this multifamily law, and we have to rescind it. But that's going to depend on our legislators, Joan Lovely and Sally Kearns. Now, the other items that I brought in for the town manager, I have an item in here that says town manager resignations. DEI manager left within hours as the town manager resigned. Selectmen must eliminate this position outright and save the cost of a DEI organization. It may have been up to $300,000 per year with all the support that needed. We have local volunteer committees to handle community issues, and we have handled them for years. And as far as I know, David McKenna and the diversity committee at that time has achieved all of the goals that are being imposed on us with diversity, equity, and inclusion. Come on, people, let's get real. Town management resignations or retirements. Others. Where are the exit interviews? I have been asking for those. Nobody wants to give any information out. Town DPW manager resignation and departure was very abrupt, very imminent, because the DPW manager went for a retirement instead of getting fired, because there are issues that needed to be investigated, and they have not been. Exit interviews were not conducted that I know of, or they're not available. Solar panel park at the landfill, sorry. I misquoted the town manager because it's no longer called a dump, it's the landfill. Well, the landfill is getting filled, and it's getting filled with semi-contaminated dirt or contractor dirt from different facilities in different towns from all over North Shore. That bill is coming in, or the revenue is coming in at approximately $12 million. That's what they're quoting. However, if you notice this week, after my urging 2 weeks ago about the solar panels, there was an article in the Salem Evening News that we're expecting to have a massive solar panel array for 2.6 megawatts, and it's not going to be built until 2027. What are we waiting for? by then the solar panels will be extinct and they'll be in the dump. So I just want to make sure that we get our money's worth, because the dumping at the dump right now is a revenue generator. The only thing that I cannot determine, and nobody wants to explain, is how much is it costing us to maintain the equipment and the location of the weighing, and we put in a new scale in there. So we're working on developing that end of the site, but we don't have a purpose yet. So the business plan has not been developed yet. Town Water Department manager resignation is another one. Disappeared overnight. And that was related right back to the smart meter contract that was begun about 8 years ago. And it was worth at that time $7 million, but we had to put in $7 million of our money. So there was an opportunity to challenge that, and the meters are not working. Possible new hires by the current town manager, the new town manager, are on hold and delayed until new manager is in place, which is right. Let new manager define his or her team, subject to town charter review. There has to be some permissible confirmation by the Board of Selectmen. That's the one thing that's lacking. I don't know, and I've been involved in the past. There is nothing that's being done in regard to approval or confirmation of department heads by the town manager. The Board of Selectmen is absent from the whole operation. So who's running this town? It's not our elected officials. It's not even our appointed officials. It's the department heads. DPW director needs an investigation. Water and DPW director needs an investigation. Assistant town manager needs to resign. Municipal Light Board Electric Company director internal done. It's an appointment that it has been internally processed, which is okay. That's been in the works for a long time. Any other department head hires must not be deferred to new town manager. Town charter, town manager review, and evaluation of the type of government we want or we need must be conducted, and it is in the process of being conducted. Sally Calhoun, former Finance Committee woman and long-term participant, is doing a great job. She needs public participation. Prep for interviews from long-term selectmen and selectwomen who have been omitted from the process. Town charter review. Why are we instructed to perform this review? That's a question that we should be asking. But I have been very close in watching the process, and I don't go in person, but what I heard in the last evaluation meeting is that Peter Zook may be coming in to put his 2 cents into the charter review. So that's a good sign. Well, we also need other people that have been identified, and what we have is a Peter Zook, Kenny Brown. I think he's already gone to it. Pat Frazier should go in. She's part of the old organization. Pam Bartlett. John Webb is a voice from the past, back in the 90s. Kenny Hersey is another one that should be heard from. I think we need to explore the availability of these particular individuals. I have a 3-page dissertation that I've submitted to the review committee. I don't know what they're going to be looking at in the future, but what I've seen to date is that they have a lack of depth in knowledge of what the departments and our independent companies like the water and sewer, the municipal light board, and now we have a dump committee that's spending and making money. They need to know what these particular organizations that have been set up by the town manager should be doing. And I think we need some input from these organizations. And I will be reaching out to Sally to get some of this information. So, the other item that I have on here is system school performance, system school budget and cost. They're going through their budget preparation. And I have not attended that because I don't think that the town school system is performing to the level that we expect in our town. One announcement that I like to make, and I have been preparing a special that I'm going to be releasing next week, is a Topics of the Town will be participating with the 250th anniversary by presenting a special report. I have interviewed with Richard Trask, and this is Danvers History with Richard Trask, our archivist. This will be a multi-part presentation of Danvers history as narrated by Richard Trask and using his perspective of how this town originated, what trials and tribulations we went through, and how we are participating in the revelation of what Danvers went through to get to this point, and we need to build on it. We have also the Danvers Historic Society invites you to follow along with us to explore the people and events leading up to the War of Independence. Now, the Danvers Historical Society has given us advance notice about issues that have happened during the 1775. In January, Danvers had a population of approximately 2,200. Committees of safety were created to enforce the non-import and non-export directive of the First Continental Congress. Each Danvers man was ordered to have an effective firearm, bayonet, 30 rounds of cartridges and balls, and other equipment. If he could not afford these, the town saw that it was provided. The town was also prepared to pay each man 1 shilling per half day of service. Samuel Page, Jeremiah's son, made 2,652 cartridges with the town's allotment of gunpowder and distributed it among the militiamen. Danvers Historical Collection, and this comes from a volume of 44, page 60 to 73. However, there's also January 9th. Town meeting votes to encourage 1/4 part of the trained band soldiers of this town to enlist as Minutemen. That was our town meeting in January of 1775. That was before the Revolutionary War. January 19th, a town ordinance was voted to prohibit the holding of parties at houses of entertainment for the purpose of dancing, feasting, and so on. Now, there are some rules and regulations that the Revolutionary War created for us, and we abided by that. So we look forward to seeing more of these kinds of issues that are coming up from our historic society. And this is a resource that we should be proud of, and we need to encourage people to get involved. So that is our segment for the town. And I would like to get into the next segment, which is more of the Beverly Airport segment. I love this time because it is something that is being jammed down our throat. Danvers is being neglected by the Beverly Airport Commission. Danvers has not appointed the second Beverly Airport Commissioner since, I believe, September, when the Aaron Henry resigned. And I don't know what they're waiting for. The airport goes on. They're developing hangars. They're developing new facilities. They're inviting new planes, bigger planes, and we're getting the noise, the environmental impact, and we are having to deal with this because Beverly Airport does not have any regard for the residents of Danvers. Now, I will tell you that they have tried, but they do not have any chutzpah to get up and say, enough is enough. Danvers needs to be protected. And what is happening in our Danvers neighborhoods is people are selling out because they cannot take that noise level and the impact from the airport. Old Burley Street, that is getting flooded. And the thing is, we can't do anything about it because Beverly Airport is running the property that's at, 191 Old Burley Street. That's where the infamous 300-foot by 135 feet by 47 feet tall hangar is being planned. Now, to inform the rest of the audience, there has been an appeal that's been made to the Department of Environmental Protection in Massachusetts. And the thing is that it's been investigated, and the representative came out to the airport. We walked down the area. We saw water sitting on top of the grass. And the thing is, I don't know what the results are going to be. There have been communications sent to the Environmental Protection Agency. And this is something that has been brewing for almost 8-9 months. The thing is, they don't want to address it because they comply with conservation, and our conservation commission said it's fine, but the thing is, the residents are not being considered at all. Now, I know that I have been involved in this thing for many, many years, and the airport commission has changed from the old guard to the new guard, but nothing has changed in the approach towards the Danvers residents. Danvers needs an appropriate number of commissioners to be appointed to the Beverly Airport Commission to represent the 170 acres of property that Beverly Airport controls under their jurisdiction by the city of Beverly. We have no representation other than the two that we have negotiated in 1997. And that was done as a negotiation between the mayor of Beverly and Wayne Markey, our former town manager, to relieve the pressure, political pressure, on the airport, because at that time they had a master plan that provided elimination of every tree that was within reach of the airport property or leaning over from the private property onto the airport property. That was a devastating tree cutting that happened overnight, and then we had to fight our battles, and we're still fighting them. There is a proposal, and this is being appealed, and we're waiting for the resolution from the Department of Environmental Protection. The expansion of the Beverly Airport is a very serious impact on the quality of life in Danvers. We conducted this appeal. Select Board are ready to meet and resolve this matter, which is of great importance. The topics are flight level aviation hangar development, master plan update and review for community acceptance, and immediate appointment of current allotment of vacant commissioners' Danvers seat. These are my comments that were made over 4 months ago at the Beverly Airport Commission meeting. Nothing has happened since then. We are still waiting for the Board of Selectmen to select the second Danvers Beverly Airport Commissioner who is going to replace Aaron Henry. I don't know what they're waiting for, but they had the commission disbanded, basically. The commission with 2 commissioners has no voice, really. And I believe that the Beverly Airport Commission and the Beverly Mayor likes it that way because they don't have to deal with us. But they have an influence. We have an influence at their meetings, but those meetings are useless as well. I think what it has to do is, as soon as this appeal is denied, we have to go to court and stop this expansion altogether. And that's what I'm going to pursue, because Beverly Airport is impacting our quality of life. Now, we have requested an environmental study for the airport because Danvers Town Meeting was presented with this request, and they have authorized it. The town manager didn't do a damn thing about it. They sent a letter, but there's no reply. There's no emphasis on the quality of life for our residents. There is a method to this madness, is that we can renegotiate the number of Danvers appointed commissioners from the current 2 to more representatives 4 out of the current 9 would be very appropriate. What is the reason for the Beverly Airport hangar construction and runway expansion? I have this publication that was prepared. The Beverly Airport jet hangar expansion and expanded jet traffic continues without relief. The Danvers neighbors have been pursuing an environmental impact report from the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection as a means of stopping the private jet expansion threatening our town. Now, as you remember, I have received my email from Sally Kearns, who has been very supportive of our efforts. However, there was a recent article by the now let me find it, because this is the crux of the problem. Hanscom Field has encountered letter/article from Maura Healey, our governor. We need reform at Beverly Airport. Governor Healey, environmentalist, top Healey environmental leader, calls for reform at Massport, which is really including all of the surrounding airports because they work in conjunction of each other. So the issues are not going away. The governor is talking the right talk, but Secretary Tapper gave Massport an extensive list of actions to take within the coming year to improve their future environmental performance. Well, where's the list? How come Beverly Airport is not on it? We need to get the governor. We tried to get to our federal congressman, and he basically ignored us. There is no federal input into this situation with the Danvers residents. The governor needs to get into it, and the Secretary of Environmental Protection needs to get into it. But the problem is that people are to a point where they are frustrated, and people do come out to the meetings, complain, but there's no action in response to these complaints. However, one of the things that has happened recently is recent incidents at Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia and Midwest recognize our fragile existence with an airport amongst us. Look what happened at Philadelphia. That was a business jet, basically similar to what we have in town, what we have on Old Burley Street side. That's where they want to put an additional hangar, so they can store more of these jets, but these jets do fail. One of the comments was made, what happens if one of these jets explodes on the runway? God forbid that happens, but that will contaminate the air, the water, the gas fumes that are coming out of it. Now, accidents will happen. Accidents have happened at Beverly Airport, and the thing is that we sweep them under the rug, just like it is in Danvers. Sweep it under the rug because we don't want to address it. Well, we do want to address it, but nobody's listening at this time. So this message is more for the Board of Selectmen, because I even wrote a proclamation that they requested at one of the meetings, and I didn't recognize the request until 2 weeks later, but I put one together, submitted it, They sat on it. They're still sitting on it. So what we need is action instead of reaction. Now, I received a AOPA, which is the Aeronautic Operate Aircraft Owners Pilot Association Eastern Region newsletter. This is in regard to the unleaded fuel. This is another contaminant that we have sprayed on our residents in Danvers, Beverly, Wenham, Topsfield, all along the surrounding communities. Let me just give you a quick synopsis. AOPA has been strong proponent of a burn and learn approach to new FAA-approved unleaded fuels to help accelerate a transition to an unleaded future. As we did with our Beechcraft Baron last year, AOPA will continue to demonstrate new unleaded fuels as they become available and will provide full transparency on our results. Our experience with General Aviation Modifications Incorporated, G100UL, has been widely reported and was quite positive overall Swift fuels. This is the leaded fuel issue that has been brought up for years now. And the thing is that it has a potential of 2030 as the solution? Well, they have a solution now. Stop all the planes, reconfigure the engines to the new fuel, demonstrate that they operate, and fly. But no, that takes too much money to convert those engines, and that's the problem. It's all about money. So Beverly Airport needs to comply with some of the requests for relief to the Danvers residents. Beverly Airport is smug and is just sitting there and developing their our portion of the airport with new facilities and moving some of the schools towards the 191 Old Burley Street location. That's the plot of land. There are 4 or 6 plots of land that are associated with 170 acres of Beverly Airport facilities. Now, we have permitted, we don't have any permitting authority because Beverly claims that they have the authority and Danvers has no responsibility or authority for imposing any zoning. Well, it's time we change that because Beverly has overgrown their own facilities and now they're encroaching onto ours. Now, there's a master plan. The master plan has been commented on, and they have no intent of any relief to the expansion that they want because that is good for business, but they don't give a damn about the residents that are being affected on a daily basis. Just recently, this last week, there was a jet that was coming across at noon, and they seemed to fly at noon out of Beverly. And the thing is, nobody over there listens. You make the phone call, and all they do is say, okay, yeah, that's what happened. Now, we need to stop that. So, I urge the residents to come forward and let's sue the pants off of Beverly Airport, because that's the only thing that's going to stop the expansion. So, I have had my piece said. I am waiting for the reply from the MIPA, which is the Mass Environmental Protection Agency, and I am waiting for a reply on my comments that I've submitted, and I really don't know if anybody else submitted any, but there are people that are being affected directly, and they need to get involved. I appreciate your time in listening, and I know I can be a pain in the neck, but that's me. So what you're hearing is what the truth is of what's going on with subjects in the town of Danvers. Beverly Airport has been an issue for years, and the town government has been an issue for centuries. So what we need to do is we need to get involved. And like John Toomey used to say, get involved, because if you don't, you're going to get pushed aside and ignored. So I want to thank you for listening, and I hope you watched the special presentations of the historic Danvers Historical Perspective presentation with Richard Trask, our archivist, and that will be produced by Topics of the Town and Danvers Cable. And I want to thank you for listening. And Richard, I will be contacting you very soon with a revised format for the show and the logo. So good night, good afternoon, good morning, whenever this thing is shown. I appreciate your time, and thank you for listening about what's going on in Danvers. We need more input. Thank you.